Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Chasing Dreams Thursdays. And I'm Lisa McLean, founder and CEO of Lisa McLean Publications. It is a publisher, support system, consultant, coach, all things help for persons who wish to self-publish, but we also publish our own children's books. A range of books that try to represent diversity of characters and topics and themes, really to just get kids excited about reading and learning about different cultures and different experiences. So happy to have you here tonight. I always look forward to this time together with you. And tonight's topic is going to be looking at organizations that self-published authors or indie authors, which is actually a term I much prefer. It's, has a little bit more snazziness to it. But three organizations that I think indie authors really should become familiar with, subscribe if you can, get involved for various reasons. But before we jump into that, as usual, we like to talk about how much we're chasing dreams, how much progress we've made this week. Because remember, it's all about those little steps, taking that, climbing that mountain one step at a time. So I'm hoping that you will share in the chat the little step that you took this week to get going, to chasing your dreams, and I will share my little step. So this week we launched our Vineyard community. And our Vineyard community is a little spin-off of our Chasing Dreams community. This is a community space for guiding authors who want to get started but feel intimidated about getting started. And so it was a step for me because it was trying to create products that would be as supportive as possible for new authors. And I love the concept of the Vineyard community because we're literally writing a sentence at a time, and it's really trying to meet you where you're at and give you solutions for where you're at. So I was excited about that because it was something new, something different from what I normally offer. And I just can't wait till Sunday when we meet in our jam to celebrate our favorite sentence for the week. Welcome, 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 Marlon. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Nice. I like that. So Marlon says that he's working on a book. He's trying to write a book. And his little step this week is that he got his thoughts organized. And that's a big deal because it's hard to jump in if you're not quite sure what you're writing, what you're working on, where you want to get started. So Marlon, well done. So excited for you. And definitely let me know if we can help you any at all at Lisa McLean Publications. Just send me a DM, reach out, and we'll try to support as best as possible. So let's jump in. Let's get started. So as I mentioned, tonight's topic is organizations that are a great space for indie authors. Now, I don't typically use the term indie authors. I normally refer to self-published authors. But in the broader space, you will hear self-published authors being referred to as independent authors or indie authors. I really do like the term indie authors. Very catchy phrase. So there are a number of spaces where you can reach out and get help, but there are organizations that are set up just for navigating the space as an indie author, because as you can imagine, it is very different from pursuing that route using a traditional publisher. So there's a lot more for you to learn about the industry, and really you have to try and learn it very quickly. So it's good to join a space where you're able to tap into that kind of knowledge base quickly, so you're not wasting a lot of time walking in circles. Hi, Josh. Thanks for joining. Really good to see you. Please share in the chat what your little step was to chasing and accomplishing your dreams this week. We have jumped into our topic for today. And the first organization that I want to speak of that's an amazing space for indie authors to start would be the Alliance of Independent Authors, or ALI. It's a great resource generally. It is not a free resource. So the membership fees are going to range from 89 US to 149 US, depending on where you're at in your self-publishing journey, whether you're absolutely new or you're very established, you have a significant amount of sales. And of course, each membership level allows you access to different services. But for the most part, and it was one of the first organizations that I joined when I started on this journey, they're really great in a number of areas. So they give you really good general kind of advice on publishing, on how to network, how to navigate, things like legal matters that have to do with publishing, things to consider with regards to which publisher you want to use. They're very good for networking. So they do have a database of persons that you can reach out to, or you can reach out to them. And depending on which membership package you have, you can access legal advice, etc. They do have conferences, and they do offer discounts to their conferences and other services that they offer. Hi, Wisdom Evan. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about organizations that are great for authors, for indie authors. And so I'm wrapping up the first one that I mentioned, which is the Alliance of Independent Authors. Absolutely worth checking out. But if you keep in mind, there is a membership fee, and there will be a membership fee for the second one I'm going to mention. And so if you're new to the space and you're watching your budget, then you probably want to choose which to start with. Ali is great for just authors of any genre. So you will get support regardless of what it is that you are writing, and they have immense resources. The second one that I would mention, but this one is a little bit more specific to children's book authors, would be the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And I guess my next statement would also apply to number one. Yes, it's an organization that caters to indie authors, but you'll find that there's so many different types of professionals that are involved in the publishing space. So you will find, and this is why I say they're really good for networking, you will find in this space persons who are not just authors or illustrators, but you'll find persons who are affiliated to books in some way, whether it's librarians who are looking for really good books to stock up on, whether it's musicians, whether it's, yes, because very often you have audiobooks, they need music attached, or you have spin-offs to books that might end up being a children's series. So yes, musicians, translators, filmmakers, animators. So when I say these are good spaces for networking, we're talking about not just networking and collaborating with other authors and getting information on just standard publishing, but you're able to access persons who will support you shifting into a broader space eventually. If you want to take that book and stretch yourself and create other products over time. It also means that these are persons who are vetted to some degree. They would be able to make recommendations for really good persons for you to work with, and you'd be able to check out their work, their websites, etc. Hi, Kerry. Thank you for joining. Good to have you. So let me get back to my second one, because I know I kind of blurred 1 and 2 a little bit there. So the first one I had mentioned was the Alliance of Independent Authors. The second organization I'm mentioning is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And as I mentioned, there are a whole range of persons you'll have access to within that particular field. Now, they also charge a membership fee. It's 95 US for your first year. And then when you renew, it's 80 US after that. And of course, if you're a student, they have a student rate. The interesting thing with this group, and this is a group that I had also joined, was they have regional chapters. So you can find groups, subgroups within your region so that you can collaborate more and brainstorm issues particular to your region and where you plan to publish, if that's your focus. Lots of promotional opportunities. There was actually my association with the STBWI that I'll call them, that kind of opened up my mind and my knowledge of awards. There's so many awards that you have access to as a writer. And so it's another thing that these organizations open you up to. They will tell you about awards that you can apply to. And that's always a big deal, because when you have a panel of persons who like your book, give you an award, and you have that little sticker, that little emblem on the front of your book, I mean, you need no more advocacy than that to do well in sales, right? For you to be regarded as a good author and worth pursuing and following, right? So a good thing. There are costs attached to each of these competitions. Again, if you're on a budget and just starting out, then you want to space things out, check dates for submissions, that kind of thing. Check to see where you fall within the criteria as well, because sometimes it's just for your first manuscript as opposed to someone who has published repeatedly. So STBWI is really good for that. And again, they're good for reaching out to other authors, illustrators, other professionals who they can recommend. They can say, yes, these people are reliable, they're worth getting involved with. So definitely you want to check out both of those organizations. Thanks, Carrie. I did have a good birthday. Thank you for remembering. And yes, Josh, the publishing industry is immense. And so often when we're getting started, we're thinking about our little book, and that can seem daunting, but there's so many opportunities and so many spin-offs for that book or any other books that you may write. So the third website the third organization I want to direct your attention to is Publishers Weekly. Now, they publish information generally on things that are happening in the publishing world, trends, anything interesting in the news, that kind of thing. But more specific, and yes, you can, they have like a $15 membership fee, which allows you access to more than just the news that's published on their website. A lot of other freebies and access, more resources and persons that you can access. What I really like that they produce and that I subscribe to, and there's no cost to this, but I subscribe to their newsletter, which is called Book Life, and it's directed at indie authors. It's published twice a month. It's emailed to you, or if you have the app, and it really does provide you with a lot of very current information on what's happening in the publishing industry. Things that are happening in the news, trends that you need to be aware of. So for example, a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about NFTs, those are the kinds of things that they talk about, and they'll fill you in on who's getting involved in NFTs, which big publishers are advocating for NFTs, so that you know whether this is a space that's truly valuable that you want to explore, right? They'll give you updates on book releases. They will give you publishing tips. What I really liked with them as well, they also have competitions. So earlier, there was one that just closed. So they had two competitions that they were running, a fiction competition and one for nonfiction. The nonfiction one is actually still open. That one I don't think closes until January. And the beautiful thing with that is when you enter, the prize, which is something like $5,000, is to help you with things like marketing and final kind of revision, editing, refining of your manuscript, right? They also had a fun little competition, which was like the first liner, the first line of your book, and there was an award for the most interesting and catchy first line. So, just really great ways to kind of give you a little bit of encouragement, provide a little financial support if that's something you're looking for. There is an entrance fee to many of these competitions and awards that these sites will offer. But in my experience, these three that I've mentioned were particularly interesting and particularly helpful to me. Hi, Annie Thompson. Thank you so much for joining. Great to have you. I think this is the first time you've been on. It's good to see you. So just to recap, and I'll just list the names briefly. I mean, if you want more information and you missed any part of the presentation, feel free to review the video when we're finished. But again, great organizations that I think are worth indie authors making the time and the investment to get involved with: the Alliance of Independent Authors, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and check out Publishers Weekly. Check out their newsletter, which is called Book Life, which is specifically geared towards indie authors. Hi, Samantha. Good to see you again. Nice. Happy to have you as always. Now, this is not, there's one more. I have a little broader I want to throw out, and this is not an organization per se, but it's a space where I have made a great deal of connections. In fact, it's where I met the illustrator who's working on one of my more recent projects. Really fantastic, very professional, great at giving advice. And that would be Twitter. And I found Twitter really useful as an author, more than other social media spaces. I guess it really has to do with your comfort level and what you're looking for. But Twitter for me has been really invaluable. I mean, it really boils down to how you use a tool, right? Twitter has been great for reaching out and meeting and networking, speaking with authors, and it's amazing. They're really very helpful. You know, you reach out and you ask for support, information, advice, and they're willing to share. I've spoken to so many on book launch ideas, which self-published platforms they preferred. I've also, as I said, it's where I met the illustrator who's working on my Little Ray novel, which I'm so excited about. She's amazing. And the beautiful thing with something like Twitter, because I've seen so many other illustrators, you know, sharing their work, is you see what you're dealing with from the outset. The other thing that's great is that you have a lot of agents, book agents. If you really want to go the traditional route eventually, you're going to want to seek out an agent and get some support there. And they're always giving good advice. There are a lot of sites, a lot of organizations that offer promotional types of support. So for maybe $10, $20, you know, they'll send out social media handles. You'll be featured on their website. Like, again, it depends on your particular budget and whether that's something that's worth it to you as a fairly new author or somebody who's more experienced. But really, in addition to the organizations I mentioned, I have found Twitter helpful just with regards to the reach that's out there and the willingness of people to share the information that they've learned. Like, nobody is holding on to stuff. There's lots of writing advice. I mean, it's great to see authors posting all kinds of prompts every day. You know, this is the cover of your book. What would you add? Or, you know, there are these 3 lines. What would come next? And it's just kind of fun to see what other ideas other authors have, because it really does stretch you as a creative as well. So check them out. Feel free to let me know, leave a comment when you do, and tell me if any of this advice was useful, or if there are any other organizations that you have come across that you particularly like, that you found helpful. Feel free to share as well. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do here, right? Which is build a community of persons so that we can all travel together and achieve our dreams and goals, right? And help each other to be successful. Any questions for me on anything we've talked about? Samantha, I promised you a link to a book, and I have not forgotten. Actually, I did need to follow up, and so you can let me know, was it nonfiction or fiction in particular, or both, that you were interested in looking for really good resources for? Because I found a few that are really, I found one actually that I like with regards to writing memoirs and biographies. And I found one that was good for novels, but I wasn't sure if nonfiction was something that you were interested in as well. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Marlon. I would imagine that winter would be a really good time to write. I suppose it's a good time to be focused since it's too cold to be outside unless you're really into winter sports. Well, keep me posted, Marla. Let me know how things are going for sure. Any other questions? Anything else that you'd like me to expand on? Josh, I agree with you. The publishing industry is way more expansive than we could have imagined, way more expansive than I imagined when I started. The self-publishing groups, those were the Alliance of Independent Authors, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and Book Life by Publishers Weekly. So what I can do is actually, let me put them in the comments so that you have them. So Alliance, oops. I'm actually typing on the wrong thing. So Alliance of Independent Authors. SCBWI, one of my community members refers to them as SCIBWI, the Society of Children's Book Authors and Illustrators, and Book Life, which is Publishers Weekly. So hope you find these to be helpful. There we go. And I will post on YouTube and Facebook as well. So guys, tell me, how are we doing with our writing project? Do you want to share any really interesting thoughts you have on writing projects you're working on? Any questions you have on what we discussed this evening? Or any questions from me generally on publishing, getting going, writing your books? There we go. Posted all three everywhere. Feel free to start again to listen from the beginning if you want a little bit more information on each. Oh, Annie, that's exciting. Wow. Do you want to share any information on what it's about, or you're not ready yet? I don't know if that's a good thing, Josh. I hope feeling like you're in school means that you're learning a lot, and it's a good thing. Ellie, and nice. So you're a children's book author. Okay, I'm guessing. I hope I've guessed correctly. So you definitely want to look at, if I guessed correctly, SCBWI. It's a really fantastic organization, lots of resources and lots of collaborative opportunities. Oh, nice. Rachel is really good. Rachel is really good. So are you self-publishing then, or you're going through Banyan Books? I think that's what they're called. Because they are, I think, probably the most, what should I say? Because I think most of our publishers do children's book, but I think they focus a lot more in children's books rather than other genre. Okay, you are self-publishing. Nice. Nice. Feel free to DM if you ever want to have a chat about this whole self-publishing journey. I'm excited for you though. There's nothing, let me not say no other feeling, but there's a pretty great feeling when you publish and you hold that book in your hands for the first time, when you open the box, take it out, you see it in print. Yeah, it's pretty exhilarating. So make sure you document all of that and share. That's exciting. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? And I share some of these organizations primarily because the Jamaican space is really limited in what we've been able to produce as authors. And it's really limited in just opportunities with regards to the professionals that you have access to. And so it's another reason that I encourage you to look at some of these organizations, because there's so much happening internationally in the publishing space that, yeah, there's so much information out there. There's so much beyond what you and I think publishing is about. And when you actually start to get into some of the extensions and the different ways that you can format your books, or the different features that can be included in your books, believe me, we have not even begun to skim the surface of what you can do with your books and what's happening in other spaces. So really good to get involved on an international level and get a sense of the scope of what exists. Yeah, this is not just publishing, right, Josh? We're really looking at any kind of creative endeavor. And when you start to dig deep and you look at what exists elsewhere, whether it's business, whether it's education, we really are a small space. And it's good to see what's there and come back and introduce and expand and extend what our immediate experiences are like, regardless of whether we're looking at publishing or some other business space. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. Publishing is exactly how I'm sure musicians feel when they first record and release a song. It's absolutely how dancers feel when you've rehearsed, and you make it on stage and you perform for an audience. That feeling is priceless. Once you create something, I would imagine entrepreneurs get as excited as well when they launch their first business. It's like their child, they've nurtured it, they're watching it grow. So absolutely, I like that analogy for sure. All right. Well, it was really great having everyone on tonight. It was great chatting with you. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. I'm really enjoying this journey. I'm absolutely excited about it. So I'm happy I can sit and share and learn from you guys as well. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. All right. Well, our time's up for today. It's 9 o'clock. So happy that you could join us. Hope to see you again next week. Thank you, Annie. I'm glad it was helpful. And definitely reach out to me and let me know how things are going with your new book. I'm pretty excited for you. So have a great week. Go chase those dreams. For those of you in Jamaica, have an amazing long weekend, because I know you are celebrating Heroes Day on Monday. And it was great to be here. Chase those dreams, one step at a time. Awesome sauce. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for being here.